The season is almost here, Clint, and we are emptying out the mailbag today. We're talking about sack leaders. We're talking about rushing leaders. We're talking about quarterbacks. We're talking about rankings. We're talking about the offense and how many times we're going to score 40 points. We're talking about all sorts of stuff today on the podcast. You don't want to miss it. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, people? That is Daniel. I am Clint. This is Locked On Bulldogs, part of Locked On Atlanta, Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And we are back to every single day because we are so stinking close to the season being here. Daniel, I could taste it. I can feel it. It is all that I think about. Look, next year, go into your calendar right now.
Tell them.
Go into your calendar right now and go a month prior to this date next year. And you remind yourself to send in PTO requests for week 0, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then week 1. Because that's what Daniel and I are doing. We got PTO lined up. We got people doing things for us at our other jobs. And you best believe that we are in full throttle, full lather because the season is here. If you're new to the podcast, glad you were here. If you're over on the audio side, subscribe, follow, 5-star rating or review wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're on YouTube, hit that bell, get those notifications, and also give us a comment. We'd love interacting with y'all. Many of you are interacting on the Pick'em League. It's coming. It's coming. Y'all came out. It's coming. We're so excited for it. But today, Daniel, we're talking about a whole host of topics, but essentially we're going to go through the mailbag. We're going to ask questions like, how many times will Georgia score 40 points this year? Is there going to be a quarterback not named Stetson Bennett to start a game? And if so, how many games? Who's going to lead this team in rushing? We're asking those questions back and forth of each other as we empty out this mailbag and we go through because we are so daggone close.
Listen, we appreciate all of you, our listeners. Thank you for being interactive. Clint mentioned the Pick'em League. If you want to get in on that Pick'em League, it was only going to be for third segment listeners initially, but we're going to open it up to even you first segment listeners here. If you want to get in on the official Locked On Bulldogs Pick'em League, send us a DM on Twitter or send us an email, lockedonbulldogs@gmail.com. We'll get you that info. We appreciate we get a ton of great questions. If you've asked us a question and you don't hear it today, we're not going to be able to get to everything, but we appreciate your interaction. The mailbag's always open. We're always taking submissions for that. If you've got things that you want to hear us talk about, if you've got questions that you want us to answer on the pod, you can always do that. So as Clint said, being how close we are to the season, we're going to empty this thing out because we need to start fresh. So we're going to go through as many of them as we can today. And let's just start by talking about Stetson Bennett and the quarterback position, Clay, because people love to talk about that. I'm not sure if you know this, but Stetson Bennett, terrible at football.
Horrible, can't play.
Cannot do a dang thing right. He knows nothing about anything.
No. Well, Daniel, he didn't get that 5-star rating coming out of high school, so clearly he's useless.
The gurus and insiders have spoken, and he is not good at anything. Now,
can't play.
This is just a generic question. I don't know the heart behind this question, and so I'm just going to read it as it's written, Clint, and we're just going to answer it. Okay?
Daniel. I'll tell you this. Poor grammar, first of all, as I read this. Horrible use of grammar by the writer of this, the author of this. Secondly, kind of a little a-holy, Daniel, if I'm going to be honest.
Okay. You're getting that vibe. Okay.
I'm just getting that vibe.
We're looking for, Clint, how many games are going to be started by a quarterback not named Stetson? And you could give me your answer in a 2-game range. And so Let's say you want to say 3 to 4 games started by a quarterback not named Stetson or what have you. I'm going to let you go first since you clearly have such disdain for the author of this question. I'm going to let you answer your first.
Here's the deal. This is on one side of the spectrum or the other, and there's not
Okay.
much in between for me.
Okay.
Either week 1 against Oregon, Stet comes out and he is just awful.
You stop it. You stop it right now. You stop it.
Okay. If that takes place, this number is very high because we've seen Dwan Mathis just be like, nope, now we're moving on from that. We are done here.
That's true.
That's case 1. Case 2, it's very, very low, and there could be an instance in which I see somebody start a game because of injury or whatnot. So, Daniel, I'm going the game range 0 to 2 games is how many games somebody not named Stetson Bennett starts for UGA this year, because it's going to be 0. Because I think he's going to have a good season.
So you believe it's going to be 0. So I want to clarify real quick. It's a 2-game range as specified by the author, who seems like a reasonable enough person to me. Sure. The author of this question said 2-game range. So you were saying 0 to 1. 0 to 1. Thank Correct. You. You can't have all 3.
Because
let me explain how numbers work. Let me explain how numbers work.
Okay, thank you.
I also believe it's 0 to 1, Clint. I just don't think. I think, a little high ankle sprain or something. Maybe you get 1 game that Stetson does not start, but it will not be because he's benched. It will not be because he's replaced. And if you are among the contingent of Georgia fans that think that is going to happen, maybe it will. Clint and I do not believe that will be the case. All right, let's move on to this is a much simpler question. Who's going to have the most sacks for the University of Georgia in this football season, Clint? I'll go first on this one because I think you could spend your time trying to reinvent the wheel here, trying to get really creative, trying to use all sorts of logic and reasoning. But why would I not go with the guy that had the most sacks last season, who is going to be the incumbent?
His name's Bobby Beal.
Incumbent starter at his same position this year. Greater weight placed on his shoulders. Oh, and wait, he didn't even start the entire season last year because Adam Anderson was in front of him for part of the way. But now, Bobby Beal's got the whole run right in front of him. And so I'm going Robert Beal on this, Clint, and I just don't see much reason to go with anybody else.
Here's why you're dead wrong, Daniel.
Okay, here we go. Oh,
I'm so happy. You guys don't understand the depth of happiness this brings me from this mailbag listener, because it's just juicy. It's tantalizing at this point.
Kudos to you, mailbag listener.
Kudos to you. His name is Jalen Carter, and he's the best defensive player on the entire field at any given time, on any given day, or on any given game on Saturday. He's the best defensive player. And he is going to get more reps because those who are in front of him aren't there. He's the only stalwart. There's going to be rotation. We got all them freak edge guys. We got all of them guys coming back. Bobby Beal I think he's going to have a good season. I think he's going to have a good season. But if you want to go ahead and show me somebody that can play at the 4-tech and still get pressure on the quarterback, his name is Will Anderson. And, a better version of him is Jalen Carter, and he's going to get more reps. So the leader of this team, it's going to be, I think it's going to be a dogfight. Daniel, I think this is going to be sweating. But his name is Jalen Carter. He's going to lead this team in sacks.
Thrilled for it. You love to see it. All right, Clint, we got. I think we got a bunch more questions. I don't even know how many. Let's go to break, and then we'll come back, and we will get to some other ones.
But first, I want to let you know, the National Highway and Traffic Safety Administration wants you to know that you might be at a party sometime. You might be somewhere, someplace in which you go ahead and think that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drinks is not that big of a deal to go ahead and hop in your car and go down the road. But let me tell you a little story. What if you were to do that? And what if you were to horribly, tragically get into accident, ruin your life or somebody else's life? Look, here's the deal. There's only one way to drive, and that is sober. You drive sober or you get pulled over. The National Highway and Traffic Safety Administration wants you to know that there is no reason. We have Uber, we have Lyft, we have taxis, we have cabs.
We got all them things.
We got all them things at your fingertips. There is literally no reason for you to feel ashamed at all. It is a bigger deal to give your keys to somebody else and let somebody else get behind the wheel, drive sober, or get pulled over.
Well said, Clint. Well said by you. Almost as eloquently worded as this next mailbag listener. We went with most sacks, and now let's go most rushing yards. We've talked a lot about running backs on this podcast. Every time we mention running backs, someone in the comments tells us we're idiots.
Every single time.
Because we've offended this, because we like this guy and they like this other guy, or we like this guy and they like this other guy, or we like it. Just there's a lot of good running backs on this Georgia team, Clint. I think that's what we're getting at. Let me ask you this: are there any bad running backs on this Georgia team?
Turns out there are no bad running backs, and if you want to go ahead and watch a tank of a man, Branson Robinson put on pads.
There are no bad running backs. Clint and I are on record. We like all these backs.
All of them.
Okay. But only one of them can have the most rushing yards, Clint. And I need to know who you think that's going to be. When I say need, I want you to know that this is a need that I have.
Oh, this is a hard one. Look, we are putting our name behind these predictions, people. We got skin in the game.
That's right.
This is really hard. Kenny McIntosh is my boy. He is my boy. Kendall Milton's your boy.
Dejan Edwards, both of our boys.
Dejan Edwards, both our boys.
The podcast's on record. All right. So where are we going here?
I got to go chalk. It's Kendall Milton is going to have the most rushing yards on UGA this year. Although I think Dejan Edwards is going to have a very, very good season. Although Kenny McIntosh is going to catapult himself into the first 3-round conversation when all is said and done. Not round 1, but certainly round 3 is a very, 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 very good possibility. But it's Kendall Milton is going to have the most yards on this team.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming to your senses there for albeit a brief moment. If this said most yards by a back, it would be Kenny Mack all the way and twice on Sundays. You understand? Most all-purpose yards by a back for sure. But the question says most rushing yards. Again, well written. Says most rushing yards, and the answer to that is, I believe, going to be Kendall Milton. I think he's going to get the lion's share of the carries. And I think you're going to see a fully healthy Kendall Milton that is going to be really good, Clint.
Motivated.
Kendall Milton,
motivated.
Good at football.
Very good at football. Very good running between the tackles. That's not to say he's a lumbering back. He's explosive. But yes, most overall all-purpose yards, Kenny Mack by a landslide. Rushing yards. Okay.
All right. You want to go next on the list?
I'm going to go next on the list, Daniel. Let's keep going. This is an interesting one. This has so many facets to it that we need to understand. Well, this mailbag questioner asks, what will Georgia's ranking be heading into the SEC championship game? So not what's our final ranking, not what our ranking, but heading in to the SEC championship.
Georgia Tech is over. Regular season finished.
Yes, sir.
What's
now,
this
is not SEC ranking.
This is national ranking. This is College Football Playoff Committee.
Yes.
The only rankings that matter.
Literally.
The only ones that matter. Okay. You could take your coach's poll and you can keep it.
Right. Just take out the trash, grab the brownstone.
Brownstone. The window of the brownstone is open and ready to accept your coach's poll. Okay. It could go many different ways here.
Many different ways.
The first question is, do you believe that Georgia will finish the regular season 12-0? I do. I do believe that. I believe Georgia's going to go 12-0 in the regular season.
Yeah.
given that piece of information, where do I think they'll be ranked? Does that automatically put them at number one? I do not think it does, because I think Georgia will not be the only team that goes 12-0 in the regular season. To me, the debate here is between 2 and 3.
That is the debate, Daniel. I'm glad you said it.
And I'm going to go with 2.
Ooh.
I think Georgia will
Ohio
be
State
ranked
falters?
2. I think even if Ohio State doesn't falter, I think Georgia will have enough ranked teams on their schedule by the end of the season.
Yep.
Now, listen, Ohio State's going to play plenty of ranked teams as well. They will have just closed the season with Michigan. If Michigan has a good year, that could be potentially a top 5 matchup by the end of the year. And so it will be neck and neck. If Ohio State goes 12-0, I could lose this bet. But I'm going to go 2 is my prediction for the ranking of Georgia heading into the SEC championship game.
Here's what I know most of all, Daniel. There's a few rules that you have in life as it pertains to betting.
You have to learn the rules. If you don't, you'll be eating in your sleep.
That's exactly right. Take Army when they're giving you points at home.
I don't know that I would follow that advice this year. Word to the wise.
Yeah,
word to the wise.
Little different. Maybe Air Force. Maybe take Air Force this year with the points at home.
That's interesting. Now we're getting somewhere.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. 2, when chaos is an option, bet on chaos.
Okay, now. Okay. Yes, that
Rule
is
3.
A principle. Yeah.
Big 10 and 12. Horrible football. Horrible football. And if you were to give Michigan and Ohio State a chance for a national championship and watch both of them try to beat the other out of playing for it and saying, I don't want it, no, I don't want it, no, I don't want it, that's what's going to happen. Ohio State is going to screw up somewhere, just like Texas is going to Texas. And even if Georgia does lose one game, I think heading into the SEC with the teams that we play, because that means we're losing to Kentucky or Tennessee, more than likely. And one of those two teams could have a very, very, very good year, Daniel, to the point where it ranked. So I am also going 2, Daniel. I think we will be ranked 2. I think the voting, I think having the cachet of the national championship, we're getting a little bit of that glean on us, and I think the voters will go likewise, Daniel.
All right, let's go one more, and then we'll go to break. Okay. This is an interesting question. It seems to be oddly non-specific, but I'm going to ask it as it's written. This person wants to know a player that we can take to the bank and know for certain is going to finish in the top 2 in tackles for Georgia this year. Okay? They don't have to lead the team in tackles, but just who do we know is definitely going to make all these tackles? And you think to yourself, well, that's an easy question to answer. And then you start going through the names of these defense.
There you go.
Who are the sure things? And I think that's really what the question is getting at, right? You mentioned Jalen Carter. Maybe you think he's going to lead the team in tackles, finish in the top 2. That would be incredibly rare for a player of his position to do.
Very.
Keely Ringo, that would be incredibly rare for a player of his position to do. Who are the sure things, Clint, that you know are going to finish in the top 2 in tackles on this Georgia team? So I'll let you go first.
Daniel, this is wild because I'm not saying he is the most prolific tackler. I'm not even saying the most talented player on the team. What I am saying is that in Kirby Smart's defense and what he is asked to do, and with the longevity he has had in this program, he is the surest chalk that I have to be 1 or 2. And he could lead this team in tackles. And it's not an inside linebacker. It's not an edge guy. It's Christopher Smith, Daniel. Christopher Smith has the best chance of being 1 or 2 in tackles this year, just like Lewis Seen led the team in tackles prior. Christopher Smith.
I don't hate it. I considered Christopher Smith.
Ooh.
But I did not go there. I went somewhere else. I did go, even though we talked about it last time on the pod. Position of greatest uncertainty on this team, Clint, is what?
Yes. Inside linebacker.
It's inside linebacker. The position most likely to lead a team in tackles is what?
Inside linebacker.
That's right. So you're a bit of a conundrum here. You're at a bit of a conundrum. But I decided I'm going to go all in, and I'm going to go with a veteran.
Yep.
He's not just a veteran in how many years he's played for Georgia. He's a veteran even in terms of his nickname on the Georgia team. I'm going with Pops. I'm going with Dumas Johnson. This is the closest thing to a sure thing at inside linebacker that Georgia has.
Yep, it's the only other acceptable answer I would have not just ripped you to shreds for picking is Pops. This is the only logical choice outside of Christopher Smith.
So there's a chance that we're both right.
Yeah, there is.
Which is fascinating.
It is.
But there's, I'm going to say, a greater chance that I'm right and you're wrong, which is also fascinating.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating.
It is.
We're going to come back after this. We have a couple more mailbag questions to ask each other right after this. All right, Daniel, let's get to the final mailbag questions. We have a few more. And these are caliente, if I may.
This last one, the one that we're going to end on is well, the first one is going to start some fights in the comments.
Oh,
the second one
by the way, the fights are going to incur from other fan bases that are listening to this podcast right now.
Any number of fights could be incurred. The second one is a conversation I've been waiting to have for decades, and it's time. It's
just
time
the
to
fact
have
that
it.
we can ask this question is glorious.
Tells you everything you need to know about Georgia. All right, first one, Clint. Number of weeks. What is the number of weeks that Georgia, during the regular season, will be ranked number one in the country?
Can I just go ahead? I'm just going to let you know it's 0. The answer is 0. Okay?
I agree. The answer is 0.
It's 0. We're not going to be number one until maybe after the SEC championship because Alabama ain't losing a single game. And guess what they're starting off at? Number one. They're going
not
to go
losing
wire to wire.
They're not losing any games. They are going to play a harder schedule with more ranked teams than we are.
Yep.
And did I mention they're not losing any games?
They will not lose a single game.
We're not going to pass them until we have a chance to beat them. And so this says during the regular season. So the answer is 0. We're not going to be ranked number one. And Georgia fans, listen, that's okay. That's okay. We're fine with that. We want to be ranked number one at the end of the season. Not after the Sugar Bowl. Not after the SEC championship game. 2 victories, I will remind you, that you cannot take away from the Alabama Crimson Tide. You cannot take them away from them.
I wouldn't want to.
They earned, well, Nick Saban's not going to let you. He's not going to let you take those away from his rebuilding team filled with players that are trash, according to him, his words, not mine.
His words.
Players that are trash, that aren't worth anything, that now this year we can finally get on to real football. So
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, here's the caliente one, Daniel. And
Here we
here's
go.
the question. Let me say it to you so that you can bask in the glory of hearing these words on the podcast that you created with me, that we have been waiting. That I think this is the culmination. You know, look, we got on Locked On, we got swag, we got all this stuff. We haven't arrived until right now.
We started at a cathartic dumping. For those of you that have been around, a lot of talk being thrown around about, like, I've been listening since this point. I've been listening since the beginning.
Cathartic dumping is the true OGs.
People out there wanting to tell us they've been listening so long that there was no third segment when they started. They're not a third segment listener. They're a listener that used to listen when there was no such thing as a third segment.
There's Daniel. Like,
it's just one really long segment. Just a really long segment is what it used to be. All right, here we go.
Here's the question. Okay. In the 2022 season, how many games will the University of Georgia score more than 40 points.
Let me just tell you right now, it's more than half. It's more than half them games. I'm going to go. Here's the thing. I'm gonna give my number. I know you've thought about it. I want you to give your number, and then we're gonna go through and talk about which games we think they are. My number is 8, Clint.
Ooh. Okay, Daniel. My number is 7. So we differ on this.
So we differ on one game. All right, let's just go game by game.
Okay.
Do you think Georgia's going to score 40 points on the opener against Oregon?
I do not.
They are not. They are not going to do that. Okay. Samford, yes. That is
100% yes.
They could not score 40 points in that game. South Carolina. Do you think Georgia's going to score 40 points against South Carolina?
I do.
I also do. Kent State, yes.
Lock it.
Okay, so now we're both sitting at 3. Missouri.
Yes, sir.
Could Georgia go 4 games in a row scoring 40-plus points?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm starting to feel a little warm. I also agree. That's a 40-point. October 8th against Auburn.
No, sir.
No, that's not a 40-point effort. Okay, Vanderbilt? Yes, I'll just answer for you. Okay, so we're both sitting at 5. There are 5 games left in the season. You think that Georgia's going to score 40 in 2 of them. I think Georgia's going to score 40 in 3 of them. So which 2 do you think Georgia's going to score 40 in?
I think Georgia's going to finish the season by scoring 40 against, let me go the easy one, Georgia Tech.
Yes, that's an easy one. We agree on that.
Okay, good. Now it's going to come down to it.
It will not be against Jeff Collins, though.
Jeff
Collins will not still be there. Correct.
They have brought in the aquatics center supervisor.
Lord. Yes.
And they say, "Have you ever lifted weights before swinging a bat?" He says, "No." And they go, "No. You're hired."
They say, "Excuse me, ma'am, have you ever lifted weights before an event?" And
she said, "No." Kentucky is not the 40-point effort, Daniel.
Doesn't seem like it would be.
Okay, so we're down to 3 games: Florida, Tennessee, and Mississippi State left. Mm-hmm. Daniel, you have 2 of these games. I'm assuming as we're gonna have 40.
Yeah, I got 2 of them,
and I got 1 of them. Mm-hmm. And it's gonna sound weird why I have 1 of them.
Okay.
I have us scoring 40 against Florida.
That's fascinating.
I know. I do not have us scoring 40 against Tennessee, and here's the reason. Because I think Kirby will not want to play that game. I think he is going to. I think our defense is going to be up to task against Tennessee's offense. But I don't think the style. Kirby is not a guy that wants to get in that 7-7-7-7. He's not going to want to do that.
Okay. So I've got. You would think that the answer here would be Mississippi State and Tennessee if I'm going to choose 2 of these. Because these are the teams that throw the ball, that run the type of offense that's going to lead to more possessions, going to lead to longer game. It's going to lead for more opportunities for Georgia to score more points. I actually think Mississippi State's defense is going to be quite good this year.
I think they're going to be really good, as a matter of fact.
I think they're going to be one of the better defenses that Georgia faces. And so I got Georgia scoring 40 against Florida as well. And I also have Georgia scoring 40 against Tennessee. I see that game being like 42-17 or something like that. And Georgia is just going to – because Tennessee can't stop anybody, Clint. Tennessee can't stop anybody.
They are going to give up double-digit points to Vandy.
Correct. Correct. Okay.
That's bad.
So you got 7. I got 8. A bit of a dispute there. You hate to see it. Man,
it's so bad.
Clint, this episode has been fun. Let me just, for the third segment listeners, 30-minute listeners, these are the real, you're the real MVPs, okay? Next episode, we're doing a University of Georgia touchdown draft, okay? This is something we've been looking forward to. We are going to draft a team of 10 players each and award ourselves points throughout the season based on how many touchdowns that player scores. Who are we going to take? Let me just tell you, once you get to player numbers 8, 9, and 10, it's slim pickings. Okay? So who are we going to take? Who do we like to score all the points for UGA next year? Come back tomorrow and join us for that here on the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. We'll see y'all then.
See ya.